Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Vitamin Angels, for the introduction. And thank you for inviting us here in the Vitamin Angels Program Partner Alliance Conference. I'm Hannah Margaret Rabaja. I'm a Food Drug Regulation Officer from the Food and Drug Administration Center for Food Regulation and Research. So today I am tasked to discuss the rules and guidelines on the issuance of import permit for imported donated foods. So my presentation today will cover the legal basis, the guidelines and criteria for what we consider as acceptable and unacceptable food donation, and lastly, the process map. So you will be guided in case you applied for the import permit for donation. So let's start with the legal basis. So these rules and guidelines is guided by Administrative Order 2020-0001. So it is entitled Guidelines in the Importation, Facilitation, and Management of Foreign Donations Involving Health and Health-Related Products. So this policy, it aims to enhance the systems and mechanisms involved in the importation, facilitation, and management of foreign donations involving health and health-related products. So what are the scope and coverage of this AO? So first, this AO, it only applies during non-emergency situations. So in case po na may emergency or disaster, we have to follow DOH AO 2007-0017. So general guidelines. If you have the chance to read or if you have the copy of this AO, you will see that we have different criteria or guidelines depending on the health and health products to be applied. So you will see that we have medical device, cosmetics and toys, food, and then we also have the drugs. So today I'll be discussing those that are applicable only for food donation, and then my colleague, he's going to discuss the guidelines or procedure for donated drug products. Okay, first, we have all donations shall be preferably brand new and compliant to applicable Philippine standards. Next, the donations, it shall require clearance from DOH and FDA and other relevant agencies prior to shipment. So ideally, you have to apply for clearance prior to shipment. Why this? To avoid demorahe from the BOC. So ayaw po natin na extra expenses on the part of the donor or the donee. So we advise that you apply this import permit at least 15 to 30 days before the arrival in the Philippine port. So all donations that are not cleared by the DOH and FDA based on the existing guidelines shall be pulled out by the donor. So in this case, the DOH and the FDA shall not be held liable or responsible for any expenses incurred. Let's now move to the criteria for foreign donation. So what do we deem as acceptable food donation? So it shall have a minimum of 6 months expiration date upon arrival in the port of entry. So if mag-apply po kayo, dapat ang ma-receive namin na earliest na expiry date kapag in-evaluate po namin yung application nyo should be around November 2021. So if we receive application whose expiration date states na October 2021, September 2021, it is already a ground for denial. Okay, next criteria. So your food donation shall be properly labeled on its original packaging or container with the corresponding English translation or mandatory label information. So why do we need this English translation? Para po yung recipient natin, if hindi sila familiar dun sa product, makita nila, for example, kailangan ng preparation. So may reference sila. Unlike if foreign language po yung itatanggapin nating food donation, hindi po alam ng recipient kung paano nila i-consume yung product. So this is important, the English translation of all the mandatory label information. And lastly, it shall not be adulterated as defined in the Food Safety Act of 2012. So next, the packaging shall not be damaged, punctured, or seals broken, or dented for hermetically sealed containers. So dapat po walang sign ng leaks and stains on the labels and packaging. Also, your application or the donated product shall have the certificate of pre-sale or certificate of quality, duly authenticated or apostillized from the country of origin. So later, I'll be discussing the requirements more thoroughly. So now let's move to the unacceptable donation. So expired and adulterated products. This is quite self-explanatory. So products with no English translation. Food supplements containing herbs and other substances of botanical, animal, artificial, or natural origin, with the exception of vitamins, minerals, and amino acid supplements. Donations, sponsorships, or partnerships, or any favor from the tobacco and alcohol industry. Infant formula, breast milk substitutes, milk supplements, feeding bottles, and infant teethers. So these are the products covered by the Milk Code or Executive Order number 51. So should a milk company decided po to donate imported food products, they have to go through a different committee or process for the application. And lastly, food products that may require special storage conditions such as freezing or chilling. So this one po, this is not acceptable as donation because we wanted to avoid food loss, or it may took, for example, a long time bago po ma-release, for example, yung product nyo from the port. So baka po masiraan lang ng donated food. So kaya po natin iniiwasan yung may mga special storage conditions. So what else? Okay. Processed meat products from countries with reported cases of pathogenic infections. What are these pathogenic infections that we are pertaining? An example of this would be yung medyo kilala natin ngayon is the African swine flu. So if dun po sa list na sinubmit nyo or in your application, meron po kayo dong, for example, canned luncheon meat. And then yung country of origin po niya or kung saan siya galing is one of those na nakaban. So it will be a ground for denial. So other pathogenic infection, we have the avian flu. So now let's move with the process map. So the process map, this will have two major process. We have a little bit of the DOH side, and then I'll discuss the FDA side. Bakit ko po sinama dito yung sa DOH? First, because the submission of documentary requirements for foreign donations shall be submitted to BIHIC, the Bureau of International Health Cooperation. This is under the Department of Health. And what are these requirements? So we have 8. First, we have the letter of intent, photocopy of deed of donation, the detailed list of items to be donated, the photocopy of CFS, this refers to certificate of resale, and then certificate of quality, and then we have shipping documents such as packing list, bill of lading, airway bill. Number 6, the letter of acceptance. Number 7, distribution or allocation plan, and number 8, invoice. So this is a more thorough discussion of these requirements. So the letter of intent. So this should be addressed to the BIHC director. We have Dr. Maria Soledad Q. Antonio. She is the director 4 of the BIHIC. So sa kanya po natin i-address yung application natin for import permit. Next, airway bill or bill of lading. So these are transport documents. So we are not strict with this document. So if available, you can attach this. But if not, it will not be a ground for denial. And then next, we have the certificate of pre-sale. So this certificate, it indicates that the goods are normally sold in the open market. So where will you get this? You will get this from the regulatory authority in the country of origin. So that is like the FDA counterpart of where you're getting your products. The certificate of resale, it basically states that those donated products are freely sold in that country. So for example, if you have donation from Singapore, so we should receive the CFS from issued by the FDA counterpart in Singapore. And then deed of acceptance. So duly notarized document signed by the recipient formally accepting the donation. We have the packing list. So this contains the itemized list of your donation, the product, the quantity, or their contents, so that. And then we also have the pro forma invoice. This is a draft invoice given by the shipper or donor prior to shipment of goods. So of course, your invoice, it should be consistent also with your packing list. And if you have the shipping documents, it should be consistent with that. If the submitted documents are acceptable and complete, BHIC endorses the request to FDA for the issuance of clearance. So now we move to the FDA side of the process map. So submit documentary requirements for foreign donations plus the endorsement letter from BHIC. So a while ago, I discussed the list of requirements you have to submit to BHIC. So you just have to submit those same documents to FDA plus the endorsement letter from BHIC. So usually, I think BHIC is the one forwarding this to FDA receiving. So on your left, you will see the process map for FDA. So we have the request for DTN, payment and submission of documents, evaluation and checking, and lastly, releasing. So for the request for DTN, so first, what is considered under the Center for Food Regulation and Research? What is under our jurisdiction? So of course, it's food or food products. So food, it refers to any processed substance which is intended for human consumption and includes drink for man, beverages, chewing gum, and any substances which have been used as an ingredient in the manufacture, preparation, or treatment of food. So if your product falls under this description, so you will apply it with Center for Food Regulation and Research. So how do you submit the application? So you have to email fdoc.letters@fda.gov.ph requesting for the submission of application for import permit. So FDOC will issue a 14-digit document tracking number that is DTN. So it starts with the year, with the current year. So it should start with 2021, then followed by the 10-digit number with acknowledgement receipt. So how does this look like? So this is the body of the email that you'll be receiving from FDOC if you submitted or requested for submission of documents for import permit. Okay, first we have here the payment channel, and then they are advising you to send the proof of payment using the email thread. And lastly, we have a notice that the application will be put on pending status until the proof of payment is received. So please make sure to follow the steps indicated here by the FDOC for your application to be processed and routed to the concerned center immediately. So this is the acknowledgement receipt, which is the attachment in this email. So here you'll see, that is an example of the DTN, the 14-digit tracking number. You will see also the communication type. It will state here BOC. This is also the same as import permit. And then it should indicate here the name of the foundation or charity or organization or institution. And then routed to, Center for Food Regulation and Research. But if you're applying for a drug product, it should be routed to the CDRR. So please check that. Okay, this is FDA Circular 2020-026. I think this was released last September last year. This is the FDAC New Normal Guidelines. So we released this to advise the clients, the applicants, that there shall be no face-to-face interaction at FDAC. Only online transactions through email shall be entertained. So that's why your application should be emailed to fdac.letters@fda.gov.ph. So please remember that. Okay, next. I won't go through this circular. I will just discuss those things that are related to submission process. Next, the acknowledgement receipt for every online transaction shall be emailed within 2 working days upon receipt of the documents, including those with proof of payment. And lastly, of course, email to fdac.letters@fda.gov.ph. So remember this email address because there are several email addresses by FDA. So we have fdac@fda, fdac.pacd, info, ask FDA. So this email address is created solely for the submission of these documents. So you will see here, BOC clearance, import permit. So you can submit it any working day. We have the HACCP certificate and Sangkap Pinoy seal. Other email addresses is created for different set of documents or application. Okay, next step. We have payment and submission of documents. So pay the necessary fee of 510 per invoice. So question, if, for example, I'm an applicant company and then I have four shipment. Okay, let's just say two shipment. So 2 different container numbers, 2 different invoice. So you are required to pay 510 times 2. I advise applicants to submit 1 document tracking number should contain 1 application or 1 container number. It's easier for us to process that. But in case po masubmit nyo is 1 document tracking number and under po nun is 4 na shipment or more than one shipment, it's also acceptable. But for example po kasi, yung isang container number, nagkaroon kami ng clarification. So yung 3 other shipment or container number under that application, madadami po siya. So hindi agad ma-release unless ma-provide agad yung hinihingi naming compliance. So kaya po ina-advise ko na 1 DTN, 1 container number or 1 invoice. So again, as advised po ni FDAC, email back the complete set of documents and proof of payment of fees to fdac.letters@fda.gov.ph. So after nyo pong mas-send sa kanila yung proof of payment, FDAC will forward your application to the concerned center or office. So during evaluation or checking procedure, so we have three evaluators for import permit, and then it will go through a QA or the checker, and then afterwards we have the approving authority, which is the CFRR director. So during evaluation, just make sure that your product or your donation meets the criteria for food donations as stated in AO 2020-001. So if your application is incomplete, inconsistent, or you have non-compliant items, you will be notified to submit compliance documents within 7 working days. So if you're not able to submit within the 7 working days, your application will it will be a ground for denial. So after your application is through with the evaluation, checking, and then approving authority, it's now ready for releasing. So since FDAC does not, we do not have face-to-face transactions as of now, you will be provided with a scanned copy of this certificate. It may be requested. Actually, the records-releasing emails this copy to the registered email address. But in case if there are cases where you did not receive it immediately, you can request it to records dash releasing at fda.gov.ph. So the hard copy, there was a time where we opened FDAC for face-to-face transaction, and then they scheduled the release of the hard copy of documents. But for now, again, we do not have face-to-face transaction. So if we once again we are once again open for face-to-face transaction, you can get the hard copy of your documents by emailing releasing that schedule at fda.gov.ph. So I advise everyone to please check FDA Facebook page or their official website for announcements such as this advisory or circular. So this is an example of what your import permit looks like. So we have here the name of the applicant. This is the authorized representative of the organization or foundation. And then we have the donor's name and then the recipient's name. And then here in the tabular part, we have here the list of donated products, the quantity, and then the expiry date. We also have the container number and the seal number. So it will also reflect here the 14-digit tracking number, the amount paid, the OR number. Okay. So you will see here we have copy furnished these agencies or offices for the import permit. So we prepare 4 original copies. One is sent to BIHIC for their reference. We have one for the Bureau of Customs and then one for our field regulatory office. Okay, that concludes my presentation. Maraming salamat po.